If you had a choice and you could live forever, would you do it? Would you want to live forever? Stephen Bartlett on the Diary of a CEO podcast had on there a Harvard professor who discussed science breakthroughs that are happening, that we could be getting closer to a point where we could reverse aging and maybe eventually live forever, this singularity moment. Would you want to be around for that time? We're going to dive into this, and I want to would it be the best thing if that actually happened?
This is what most people forget, is that technology isn't static. When you're old, you will not be using today's technology. You'll be using technology of 2070, 2080, right?
Mm.
And then you'll be able to live into the 22nd century and take advantage of those technologies. That's why people talk about the singularity. The singularity is this idea that if you can make it to a certain point in human history, you won't have to age anymore. And that's in the future, right? But first steps first. Let's show that we can get this to cure blindness, and then get to the point where every year that we get 1 year older, we can get 1 year younger. When that happens, it's a very interesting world, right? You don't have to age anymore. That is a future. I don't know when we're going to get there, but if you don't live 10 to 20 years longer than your parents, something's wrong.
On that point of the singularity, so this is a particular moment in time where we're going to be able to make aging or age reversal, I guess, a choice, right? So I guess the thinking or the theory is that if you can just make sure you survive up until this particular date, then you have the choice to live forever. Is that like the theory?
That's what they say, yes.
That's very interesting. And the date that people are throwing out there is 2040. But in the near future, they're getting to the point where they're doing tests on animals, like mice, and they're seeing things that they can reverse the aging, slow down that process. But when we just like when we think about this, you personally, if you could live forever, would you want to live forever? I think of Conan O'Brien. I heard of like a story. It wasn't even really a joke of his, but he gave a story of when he was young. He asked I think it was a nun. He went to a Catholic school, and he asked her, "What is heaven going to be like? What is heaven?" And the answer that she gave, God bless her, but the answer she gave was, "What is your favorite thing to do?" And Conan, being a little kid, he's like, "I like coloring." And then she's like, "Well, that's what heaven is going to be like forever." And that just terrified Conan O'Brien, because he's like, "You think I want to color forever and ever and ever?" And it's just really, it's funny because the natural man, the natural person, that's what they think of. Oh, we're going to just be off in the sky, playing harps in the clouds, singing praise to God. How fun can that be? And it's just this weird, just because it's not something we can comprehend. It's not in our natural world. So it's like, it doesn't make sense. But when you give this just metaphor of we're just going to be coloring forever, that doesn't sound too fun. And I can understand why that would terrorize Conan O'Brien and probably just put him off on even though she's doing the best she can. We all make analogies. We want to make these things so it reaches us at our level where we're at right now. But when there's this difference going on with regular people, the people that you go across today, because that is like throughout history, since we have been separated from God, we're always trying to be self-reliant. We want to reach our own goals. We want to live forever. But God, He in His grace, He made it so that we didn't live forever. That's like the story in the book of Genesis, that whenever Adam and Eve sinned, He made it impossible so that they couldn't reach out to the tree of life and live forever. And there was grace in that, because in our fallen state, we understand that nobody's perfect. It's like, it wouldn't be that great to live forever how we are right now. And the whole point of it is because we want to live self-sustaining, whereas God is the one who sustains everything. And it's like, we want to do it on our own, and we don't want to be with Him. And God knows that that's not the best for us. And because this is where it goes. I know I'm kind of dumbing it down because I'm probably like a dummy or whatever. I think in these simple terms. But I just see it over and over. It's a cycle and repeat that people want to live forever. That's our goal. We want to try to do something. We want to make our health. And it's not because there is a goodness. I was just talking to my wife about this, about I don't necessarily want to I wouldn't want to live forever the way that I am now. because this world is not great. I'm not the greatest person. I mess up and all that. But she was like, it's good to take care of your health because of quality of life. The way that you go through life now, it is good because you're going to feel better as you age. But there has to be a terminating point, because if we just went on and on, we're not at peace because we're separated from God at this point. We need to be with him. We need to be with our maker. God has made it impossible for us to be complete away from him. And I think that this is just a natural men perspective, because they're like, God might be real. He might be a thing. He might not. I don't know. We'll find out, I guess, whatever. And so, like, and since we don't know what's going to happen, we just want to prolong this thing because we don't want to come to the realization of death. We're all going to reach it. We're all going to make it to death. And we just want to push that off. So it is kind of a little bit, I don't know, ominous that we are getting to this point where we could get to a point where we have these science breakthroughs that people could reverse aging and start living forever. God said in the book of Genesis, when they were trying to make the Tower of Babel, that with these people, they could do almost anything. And that's why he had to confuse their language. When they're all working together, it's like we have like a very immense power in us. And God, they were making a Tower to Babel for their own glory so that they could say, we don't need you, God. We can do it. We're good, you know? And I think this is the same thing, you know? I think we should take care of ourselves. But when it gets to the point that we don't need God, we're going to just live forever on our own. We see that over and over, that God, he puts these stop gaps in place so that we realize we do need him. And I think that this just is, I know this isn't always the greatest thing, because what people want to hear, they want to hear about wealth. They want to hear about getting rich. They want to hear about living, like having health and all that. And I think those are good things. But when you get to the point where you want to live forever, that's just showing you that your mind is not seeing things clearly. We're not meant to live forever here. We're meant to live with God. And that's the difference between heaven and hell. These are very stark contrasts, because one is with God and the other is apart from God. And God is the source of goodness and grace, and he's perfect. And it's like when we want to just do our own thing, we're going to fall off a cliff. And I respect that Stephen Bartlett, he just had on there Wes Huff on there, and they got into a lot of this heaven stuff and all this God things. And he immediately went to this, because I mean, it is tough, because it's like once you go down the God route, I know we can talk about other things, but it's like once you start really talking about God and thinking about God, he is all that matters. Jesus Christ, he's better than TikTok. He's better than Twitter. He's better than the best thing in this life that you're going to find. And it's like, that's why there's this like community, if like with everybody on earth, if you could go across the world and if someone knows Christ, you have the most, like, you have a connection with them that you don't have with anybody, because the person that is perfect, that we all love and we are all worshiping, it's like nothing, everything else is a letdown. And I think this world is a letdown, and God doesn't want us to be a letdown. And that's why he doesn't want us to live forever in this condition. He wants us to live forever with him. So let's go forward and try to take care of our health, you know, because have that quality of life, but have a right mindset. We're not meant to live forever. And almost it's a judgment if we would live forever. We see in Revelation, the book of Revelation, it says that people are going to be seeking death, but they're not going to be able to find it. And that might be because we have some type of scientific breakthrough that people are injecting themselves and they can't die, and they just want to, and they can't escape. It's that you're coloring forever. And this, you're doing something, we're chasing after something that is less than. We're always chasing after the counterfeit, as opposed to the real deal, which is God. All right, we'll leave it at that. Smash that like button. Follow me on X and Instagram at Brandon Fogel, and have a good week.